After cutting rates and setting us up to fail, Bank of Canada Stephen Poloz is now making another destructive move. Poloz and his governing council are debating the merits right now of raising the inflation target to better manage growth and inflation. After shocking markets with an interest rate cut in January, Bank of Canada Governor Stephen Poloz is considering whether to deliver another surprise, changing the central bank's 2% inflation target. Now, of course, all of this is complete BS, and, well, here's why. Ever since 1992, the inflation rate of the Bank of Canada has been somewhere between 1 and 3%. Now, this rate doesn't include core prices like food and energy. You know, you would think that the Bank of Canada would want to include these necessities of life when drawing up monetary plans that could really make or break the Canadian economy. Now, the big problem, of course, is that inflation itself is bad for everyone and it's detrimental to economic growth. Just adding more paper money to the economy is really like adding water to milk. It just completely dilutes the quality. And not to mention, those who get this new money tend to be the most well-connected. Meanwhile, you've got mainstream economists and central bankers just ignoring the consequences of never-ending credit expansion. They ignore the distorted prices and the wages as the new money just makes its way through the market. And by the time it reaches the middle class, well, prices of goods and services have risen while the middle class paycheck or salary just stays the same. And so, in real terms here, our standards of living really is falling. And it's solely because of the Bank of Canada's policy of continual money creation that they like to call inflation targeting. So obviously, any politician talking about the middle class without discussing the Bank of Canada or its inflation policy is just blowing smoke. But the Bank of Canada stands behind its inflation policy, and really so does every bought and sold politician. And the reasoning, of course, is deflation or falling prices. You know, that's the big boogeyman, the Osama bin Laden of the financial world, if you will. And there's ample historic evidence to show that robust growing economies actually have falling prices. You know, imagine that. People become more productive and living standards improve when goods and services get cheaper. Or rather, the purchasing power of your money increases. I mean, why would central bankers and hack economists go out of their way to mask this fact with all this complicated jargon and mathematical equations that don't actually reveal anything true about human action? Simply because printing money and giving it to your crony banker friends is in their self-interests. Just like it's in our self-interest to expose this fact and to make it common knowledge. It's frightening, though, really, how sleepy people really are about this issue of money. I mean, we all use it and we all need it, but there's really few out there who question the principles behind money. Some even go as far as to advocate for completely abolishing it altogether. But money is necessary for exchange beyond barter, and obviously barter can really only take you so far. Yet at the same time, for most of our grandparents or their parents' lifetime, the economy was steadily improving. You know, back then living standards were going up, working hours were getting shorter, and prices were falling. Now it's contrary to what the establishment would try to have you believe. You know, the union did not create the weekend, and the governments did not abolish child labor. People who were free to exchange built civilization, and as things got better, well, the idea of having 2 days off became a reality. It wasn't that prior to the weekend, people didn't want to take time off. It's just that they simply couldn't. You know, they literally wouldn't make enough money to live. Which kind of sounds like how it is now, really. I mean, how many people do you know who have multiple jobs just to make ends meet? The point is, you got to make present sacrifices for future gain. It's just a basic fact of reality. You just simply can't continue to consume what you haven't produced. The fact is, only voluntary association and exchange is what produces wealth and prosperity. Governments can only impede individual actions, and in the case of inflation targeting, it's literally printing more money every year. So you can see why equating this with growth is absolutely absurd. And even at an inflation rate of 1% after 30 years, your savings are cut in half if you had any to begin with. And now that the Bank of Canada is proposing to increase this target, well, we really can only expect that things are going to get much worse before they get any better. But hey, at least I guess some raising food prices and energy prices might be that wake-up call that people are going to need. I guess let's just hope they don't demand for more government intervention. So that's all for today, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Check the links in the description for the sources to this video. And stay tuned. We got a lot more coming right here very soon at pressfortruth.ca.
Look at this ground.